Welcome to Internet Capital Markets, the weekly show where we explore how financial systems are being rebuilt on the web. Each week, we sit down with the builders, investors, and institutional leaders who are shaping this transformation from tokenized assets to and everything else. Not to forget advisory as well. And today's show is brought to you by TrustBytes, smart treasury for internet capital markets. I'm Jeremy Pazzetti, and together with my co-host and co-founder Jonathon, we are builders ourselves. Jonas, today we have some special guests today. These are two smart people, husband and wife, researchers, advisors, learners since the very beginnings on every company, speakers as MCs, as entrepreneurs themselves. So let's directly jump in. Welcome, Dr. Quinn and Dr. Jonathon.
Hi. Hi, grateful to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Really, really appreciate it. So maybe a little bit of background here. We actually got to know each other during the Techstars program. So Quinn was like one of our lead mentors during the Techstars program in the beginning of the year. And we said, okay, this was like so impressive. We need to get her on board as an advisor for TrustBytes. And here we are. So I'm really, really excited that we can do a show now together. So we launched this show like a couple of weeks ago, like talking a little bit more about like bringing everything on chain, not like only on the financial side, but literally everything. And why don't we start with like talking a little bit about your background, your careers in research, also like your creative ventures. I'm sure like the audience will be very interested in your life as digital nomads. So like how did your journey as digital nomads and the creation of life out of the box, and you definitely need to talk about life out of the box, like how does it all came together? And yeah, like maybe you can give like a little bit of introduction yourself.
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of background on us. For me and Jonathon, we have kind of always wanted to be digital nomads for a very long time. We got into the blockchain space. We first started investing a little bit of money into crypto around 2015, 2016. And when we were doing our PhDs, I was doing my PhD in consumer behavior focused on design, and John was focused on organizational behavior specifically as it relates to entrepreneurs as an individual with their psychology. And when we finished our PhDs in 2019, we looked at our portfolio and we were like, whoa, what is going on? There's nothing else we could have really put our money into that would have had such a high yield of return. So for us, we knew we didn't want to go into academia. We wanted our research to really be empirical, to be able to actually be used in the real world. So we decided to really go all in into the blockchain space, really try to understand what are the various different ways that this technology can be applied in real world situations beyond just currency. So in 2019, 2020, 2021, we went full time into this space. That's really where I started to get really excited about on-chain data and consumer behavior in terms of trading and ownership, and we can go into that a little bit as well. That led me into my first position as VP of Growth for NFT NYC back in 2021 to 2022. That was a huge time. If you guys were around during the NFT craze, that was a huge, huge time. It became the largest event in the entire world for NFTs. It was about 22,000 ticketed attendees. We grew that very, very big as the boom actually was, and then it popped. So ended up going into another position. I was COO of a media company, oversaw a merger with that. And for us, we started to really understand that this technology, this industry is global, it's borderless. And it was really a moment where it clicked, where it was like, it actually is more advantageous for us to understand how this is impacting the world on a macro scale, and also on a micro scale on a country level, to really understand how this is going to really play out. So we decided to, 2 years ago, it was like 2.5 years ago about, yep. We decided to, pack our bags, throw our stuff in a storage unit and just go and travel the world. We thought it was only going to be for a few months. 2.5 years later, we are still here and we're still digital nomads. And it's really one of those industries that you can really lean into being a digital nomad. And there's huge advantages with that. And we can talk about that in a moment. But yeah, I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, I think the thing that got us going full on digital nomads is we found that even though we're all working online 24/7, especially if you're working in Web3, it is extremely advantageous for you to actually show up in real life at these different conferences or meetups and getting to know people one-on-one. And so we were going to so many different events, getting to know people, seeing what people are building, looking at opportunities for us to get involved with. And we said, you know what if we just made it our full-time role, is just bouncing from conference to conference. We may arrive a little bit early, we may leave a little bit late, but then no matter what, we're guaranteed to be where we think the best opportunity is. And so that's kind of how the digital nomad and the Web3 life kind of came together for us buttons.
Yeah, and I will just add one last thing. Like, life out of the box for us, we're really trying to educate. Education is a huge thing for us, obviously, not only because of our academic backgrounds, but we really believe that the future of this industry requires education for people to really understand what this is all about. So life out of the box, we're really trying to simplify and make that accessible for anyone to be able to understand this crazy world. And it's been such a wonderful wild ride. We've met some amazing people like with you guys. We are strategic advisors, investors, especially early stage startups. And we love being able to really be in the trenches and really try to help build things from the ground up, in the industry that we see as being a huge part of our future.
That is like so broad and so interesting. I guess we can talk about like every little aspect of like your career and career path, like for another hour. But like, what moment made you like really realize that if we go a little bit deeper into your research that you did back in uni, and also like combining that with your lifestyle of like being remote, and I was like a digital nomad like for several years, and now like mainly living like on 2 different continents as well, so I can really empathize with like your lifestyle here and what kind of like advantages it has as well. But like, what moment where you really realize that there's like a match of like your research and like blockchain technology? Like, what was this moment? And maybe you can like really tell the audience a little bit more about it. Why this like really is like so powerful, especially when we're talking about like this behavioral analytics.
Yeah, look, I think from a research perspective with on-chain data, especially when it comes to consumer behavior, like on-chain data, when you understand that someone actually owns something, like on-chain, let me just break it down from an intro level perspective. You can actually see every transaction that's ever occurred on-chain with blockchain, right? There's a lot of advantages to that, especially from a consumer behavior standpoint. When we're thinking about the holy grail of consumer behavior in terms of variables, it's purchase. You've actually purchased. So the proof of purchase of something is a really, really powerful variable. And so I started to really dig into that and understand, look, if we compare if we can correlate a lot of the on-chain data, basically showing that people are actually interested, not just because of their likes or they're subscribing to it, like in Web2 and social media, we can actually see purchase something like an NFT, or they've purchased something like a token or Bitcoin or something like that. We can really understand their behavior overall. We can understand their trading behavior. And if we can correlate that with their interests on Web2 platforms, that's a hugely powerful new database that has not really been discovered quite yet from a consumer behavior standpoint. So it really is a very important component of what I am looking into and why I get so excited about it, because there's not really an understanding of really attributing, X, Y, or Z in terms of marketing campaigns. But with on-chain data, you can actually see the various different stages in which someone actually purchased something, or they traded something, or what did they do with that. And that's gold. That's data that we have not really completely had from a consumer behavior standpoint. So it is very, very important from not just the micro level, looking into wallets and understanding whales or understanding trends. It's also really important from a macro perspective as well, to understand, what treasuries are going to be able to do, what idle capital is sitting in various different wallets from a large scale as well.
Yeah, for me, my background's focusing on business administration with a focus on entrepreneurship, really looking at the individual entrepreneurs. And there's no better industry in the world, in my opinion, than Web3 right now, because everyone's a startup. Everyone's trying to build something from the ground up. And if you're really trying to understand what's going to be the greatest likelihood of someone succeeding, you really kind of got to go into the root of it, which it really starts with the individual. Even if it's a team, it still starts with the individual. So my background research was really looking at entrepreneurial motives and how that indirectly affects business success. And so we kind of view ourselves as qualitative researchers. We go down to these different countries where they're starting to use some of this technology, and they're really just kind of testing it out. And some of these places, this is really solving a major problem for them, having cash on the blockchain. So for us, it's really like getting in there, testing it out, speaking with the entrepreneurs. What are they doing? And then that's how we kind of fall into some of these advisory roles, as well as fall into leadership roles from being co-founders on all different types of businesses. The company that I work heavily in the Solana ecosystem is I'm a co-founder of a company called IRLs, which is which is essentially an NFC tap station that allows people to check in and check out. We mostly focus on Web2 clients, but we do show up at quite a few Web3 events. And we have like a special set of hardware and software that we've built using Solana's blockchain to enable the owners to ensure that they are not being manipulated when people are trying to claim multiple check-ins or check-outs when they're claiming their ticket, their raffle ticket, or their reward card stamp. And so we've been playing around with that with different products. And so any way that I can kind of get up into the deep woods of it, where I'm working with those entrepreneurs and try to help uplift them and then work together with our technology, is a good opportunity for us.
It's super interesting how you actually build the bridges between IRL and on-chain and put everything together. Also curious, speaking about your background, one question is actually, since you mentioned you're more in the organizational area, Jonathon, and then Quinn, you're more in the behavioral analytics space. This is where you came from. How do you actually complement each other in that when you are building in Web3?
That's a great question, Jeremy. I would say there are many ways that we complement each other. I always say the best teams are not people who are the exact same. It's, people who come with different strengths. And I would say that it's very much the same with you two as well. For us, look, take his technology IRLs, his company IRLs, for example. When he and his co-founder, Daryl, were working with Super Team UK and whatnot, and really trying to work out all the kinks of how is this actually going to work. For me, my brain lit up because, working with, it wasn't just NFT NYC, I was also working with this company called NFT Cred. So we were working with various different enterprise and main brands that everyone knows in terms of their various different marketing campaigns and how they can use this technology. When I saw what they were doing, I was like, you guys, this is proof of attendance. This is proof of participation. And that's a huge thing. We've all heard of reward systems and whatnot, but to really be able to have technology like an IRL where you can actually prove and you can't duplicate it. You can't have a bot actually collect it or anything like that. That's really powerful. And to be able to have that data and share that data with a company that's really trying to understand how much retention, what's the ROI of this event that we were actually attending, who did we actually get to come, that to me is a really perfect example of where I think, complementary, we're very complementary in that. I'm always thinking about the data. I'm always thinking about the consumer, thinking about how do we make the product easier? How do we reduce friction in general so that the average person can actually start using this technology without even knowing what's going on behind the scenes. I always say email is the perfect example of you don't really need to know how email works in order to use it. You just use it. And that's what my hope for different products in the future using blockchain is actually going to be. But I think that, John really comes in with understanding the psychology of various different founders as well. And I think that really plays a huge role in terms of how we decide to, whether it's investing or going into an advising role or whatnot. There's a lot there. I don't know if you have
I mean, for me, I feel like I probably relate to you guys a little bit. We're dudes in some people call it degenerates. I like to call it that we're quick entrepreneurs that are always looking for that next opportunity and willing to take the risk with the gamble. Quinn on the other side has this ability to always look at it from a Web2 organized mindset. And I think that has to do with her research background because she's looking at consumer behavior of normal people, and normal people aren't in our industry. And so whenever I'm looking at it, I'm often looking at it perhaps too niche. like thinking about customers like us three. And Quinn then expands it. Well, if you really want to infiltrate this larger corporation, you really got to get into what they're looking for, and then really kind of get into the behavior of their current market and also where their market expansion is going towards. And so that really helps me, like whether I'm doing a pivot or doing a soft turn, it allows me to like see the bigger picture and then kind of adjust accordingly.
You really do complement each other, even presenting each other and speaking about each other. That's so cool to see. And Quinn, your work focuses on reducing friction and improving user experience for emerging tech in general. But what frictions do you see still on chain when it comes to capital markets today?
Yeah, it's another great question. I think it's a lot of unfortunately, what I was frustrated with a couple years ago, even too, what I was screaming from, every stage that I could possibly be on was, we need to reduce the friction. We need to make this easier for my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, for everyone to be able to actually use. And even going beyond that, we're also entering a world where this industry really is borderless, and we're seeing countries really adopt it. One country in particular that we have gone to a couple of times in the past year is Vietnam. Da Nang, Vietnam specifically, the government's really investing heavily into really trying to incentivize builders in this industry, specifically blockchain, to come in, to build, and to actually stay. And that's really, really interesting. But now that's a whole new population of individuals who have to learn more. I would say the average American understands blockchain probably a little bit more than the average person in Vietnam. But in order for this to truly be global, to really be globalized, we really need to make it as easy as you scan a QR code, you tap an NFC, and you're in. You're right away in. And so I think in terms of the first place that I'm hoping gets reduced in terms of friction is the wallet, right? And I think that there's been huge strides with the wallet in general, like email, phone number, let's keep it Web 2, let's make it easy for people. But I think then the next step in terms of what people want to do, whether they want to trade, they want to swap, or whatever it is they want to do, it usually takes that extra level of effort. But in order for it to really truly be globalized for all different people from across the world, it needs to be even easier. And so I just think that immediate first moment of usability, can I actually use this? That moment, you only have that one moment to convince someone whether or not they actually want to go forward and do this. And there's huge financial incentives, but we have to get over that hump in terms of designing it and reducing that friction so that people can actually use it as often as they use WhatsApp or Line or Grab or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that if you don't need Web3 in it, then don't bring it on. It's only designed to enhance something that really requires it. So if it's happening, keep it in the background. Like most of the time, I don't really think a lot of these products need to be as complicated as they currently are. And I think we're seeing a lot of reduction with that. And I think it will continue to get easier and easier, and people will get educated, but it's to be fully honest, it's taken a lot longer than I was hoping it would. But I'm willing to stay on this roller coaster as we go through it. But eventually I do expect that my grandma and your grandparents will be having a couple NFTs and hopefully have some salon in their bag that they'll be handing it down to your grandkids one day. But until then, we'll just continue to help do our part to educate.
Yeah, I'm super aligned here, especially with your like claim, don't use Web3 or blockchain technology when it's not needed, right?
Yeah.
And we really do need to think about like the advantages here of blockchain and where it can be really applied. And I mean, like honestly, like the one crucial benefit of like decentralization, like the majority of people, in my opinion, doesn't really care about it. They just want to see it working, right? So we really need to think about like, because in the end, blockchains are just like a slower database. So where do we really can play out the advantages here? And I mean, financial products are like one part where we definitely see that there are advantages if you settle on chain compared like to these legacy technologies like in capital markets. And if we now like dig a little bit deeper, like, and trying to bring together like market intelligence, consumer analytics, behavioral data on chain. Like, how does that help actually to create more adaptive, maybe permissionless, maybe decentralized financial products?
Yeah, great question. I think, we're just now seeing various different data sets being correlated, right? And so on-chain data, there's almost too much data on a blockchain, right? So if you're running a full node, there's so much data. You just need to know what to query, right? So what are you actually looking for? And that's a really big part of what I try to help with is what exactly on the blockchain, what data are you looking for? When you know that, if you're just looking for, hey, who has purchased a CryptoPunk, X copy grifter, and a Lacoste NFT back in the day, right? Like, what does that mean? And if you have that, and then you can correlate their wallet with various different off-chain data points, such as, what are their interests on Twitter? So for example, one of the companies I'm an advisor for is Web3 Sense. And that's exactly what they've been doing, is really trying to correlate interest. What are your interests? Who are you following on X? And how do we correlate that with your behavior on chain? That's really, really powerful in terms of really understanding and drilling down on the individual level. And you can really kind of pan that out to the macro level in terms of really understanding the various different trends. So for enterprise, for example, I mean, really trying to understand, where is the money coming from? Where is the money being traded? Where exactly is that going? I think that, one's IP correlated with wallet data is going to be a very powerful correlation data set at some point as well. It really comes down to, what's the problem that someone is trying to solve? And I think that this is the whole thing with Web3 too, is like, what problem are you trying to solve? And then what's the data that you need in order to be able to solve that and to enhance that and give yourself almost like a moat to really be able to differentiate yourself from everyone else.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think, and this might go against what a lot of people believe, but I see that we are in a phase of Web3 where people are being a little bit more comfortable sharing who they are. So like, you might have started off in the NFT space with a complete anon name, but like, the more that you're interacting, you're going to want to cash out at some point. And if you're going to cash out, you're going to have to put out your information on a transaction platform at some point in time. And I think as we start like putting our name, like if someone really wanted to look up all my transactions, they would have the ability to. Like, I know how to do it, and I'm sure you guys could do it too. It's not that difficult to like figure out how to weave through it. And as we open it up a little bit more, and we're providing alternative ways of trading commodities like stocks or different type of physical assets on chain, you take that data that's public across, like, you could see all of it right there, anyone publicly. Now we can really like start to understand consumer behavior in a whole new realm. And so I think that's, to me, like what I'm most excited about, is when we start getting, as long as you can like correlate whose wallet is whose, and I think we're going to be able to do that a little bit more. It's getting more and more difficult to hide it if you're really trying to hide something. I think when we're really starting to put those two puzzle pieces together, you really got an incredible data set, unlike anything else. Like, if you're on Amazon making a purchase, only Amazon gets access to that. But if it's on blockchain, everyone, it's public. I mean, that's the benefit, in my opinion, of decentralization.
Yeah, just one more thing to add is I agree, just to build on what you were saying, is it's almost like having access to a ledger that's like Amex, seeing everyone's Amex transactions, right? Like, you have American Express, that's private data that's specifically for American Express. Now everyone's data is out there. Now, why is that not so scary? Well, we're also in the advent of AI, right? And so I think on-chain data and who you actually are, proving who you are, that you actually made this trade, that this is actually yours. KYC is an inevitable thing that's actually, that's happening as regulation comes, which is not necessarily a bad thing. People are going to be able to prove and verify that this is actually me, and this is what I own, and this is what I did. And I think that's going to be a really powerful thing, almost like a counteraction to what we're going to see in kind of like the more scary scenarios with AI.
Yeah, I tend to agree here. On the other hand side, I see also like this development, or like these requirements rather like from the financial industry and from the financial institutions, that they definitely want privacy, right? So on the one hand side, like everybody is like trying to figure out like how to identify wallets, like maybe rather on the consumer side. But then on the other hand side, you have like these big financial institutions. We do see signs that they want to engage and want to use blockchain technologies, but the requirement here that they really want to put everything on chain and want to trade on chain, they require privacy on the other hand side, right? So do you think like all stocks, and I mean stocks are like really crucial here because like everybody's like just waiting for that, like true stocks on chain, like true real securities, do you think like all of that will trade on chain in a couple of years?
I do, 100%. A couple of reasons why. One, when we were in Istanbul at what was it, Crossroads event, some of the biggest talks, the ones that drew in some of the largest crowds, were having discussions on trading all different commodities, from carbon credits to uranium, way beyond precious metals. And I was like, these are things I never thought that someone could actually have ownership of, like literally true ownership of it as a fungible token in your wallet account, and it's an investment opportunity. Second reason is when we were at in New York at Accelerate, that was the whole theme, is all about stocks, and they were making those announcements. Kraken said they were going to do it. Right now, I don't know if everyone has access to it, but I saw it on Phantom. There's different ways that you can buy the top tier stocks, so like top 10, something like that. Of course, your Apple, your Nvidia, your Tesla. That's just the intro. I mean, I'm excited mostly not for all stocks to be available, because that's opening it up to the globe. Like there's so many people that wish they could buy some of these US stocks, but don't have access to it with all these additional regulations depending on which country they live in. Now it's open and anyone can participate in it. There are a few things that they'll have to figure out, like how to set up dividends and stuff like that. But that to me is only going to come with time. The thing I'm most excited about personally is when we're really going to see a lot of IPOs, where it's probably going to be like a little bit of a blend between like an ICO and an IPO, where it's a private company going public, but it's going to have like the regulation system put together, and it allows it to actually go and have an opportunity to be on the S&P. That to me is like everyone, like the number one gatekeeping in investments is IPO, in my opinion. And I think that as that starts lowering the barrier, like it's our money, you know, like I want to, who doesn't want to invest into OpenAI right now? Every single person does. Who doesn't want to invest in SpaceX? Everyone does. Give us a chance. We know we could lose all the money, but at the same time, there's people who are betting on which song Taylor Swift is going to play first at her next concert performance. Let us play a little bit of the game. And I think like once we start breaking those barriers down, it's going to be better for everyone. And I think Web3 is the way that that's going to happen.
Period. I agree. I agree with everything you said. One thing I'll add, and then we could go on, but look, it almost is like my dream of being a digital nomad is that we are truly borderless and that we are globalized. And I feel like that is the financialization next step to that dream actually being possible. I always think about what is this, how is this going to open up opportunities for people who have no access to the stock market in the United States, for example, right? This is going to open it up in terms of people being able to come in, not just for their own financial wealth potentially, but also for the startups companies, right? For the startup founders, like you'll be able to raise more capital much easier. I do think that it's important to have that pairing with regulation, because I don't know if anyone was around during the ICO era of 2018. That was a complete chaos. But you know, there's something in between, and I think we're seeing the restructuring of the financial industry overall. We're just at the very beginning.
I can fully echo what you just both told. It has to become borderless. It has to become more fluid. We need to open the gates and so on. And the term internet capital markets itself actually suggests that finance becomes fluid and borderless as the internet itself. And now you two as digital nomads, how do you personally experience that shift?
No, you had.
Well, as digital nomads, I will say straight up, first off, it's never been easier for anyone to be a digital nomad than today. Like it is so much easier, and crypto assists with that process because sometimes it's frustrating. For example, we're in Thailand right now. You could have the ultimate digital nomad visa, but you still cannot open a bank. But last Monday, I went shopping, doing a couple errands, and to my surprise, there's a guy who said, if you want to make any purchasing and you don't have cash, I don't accept credit card, but if you want to pay with Solana or ETH or Bitcoin, we'll accept that. My boss accepts that. And I think we're going to see more and more of that becoming available, which only makes it easier for us because the truth is the best bank that we could ever ask for is one that we have true full ownership of. And the only way that you're going to have ownership of it is if it's truly decentralized and it's a wallet that you have full possession of and control of. So to me, that's like the biggest benefit. I will say some of the services that are coming out, because there's so many different entrepreneurs trying different products and services for digital nomads utilizing Web3 technology. It's not quite there yet. Like I said, like if it's not broke, no need to necessarily fix it. But like there could be an opportunity where there will be another Uber that's going to provide more money for the drivers and a lower cost for the riders thanks to blockchain. There will be an Airbnb that does the same exact thing. And I'm seeing them come and I'm seeing them build and trying to acquire customers and figure it out and getting grants and doing all the work. But it's not there yet. But I'm waiting for it and I'm ready for it when it gets here.
Yeah, I will say there are a couple of things. One, in terms of observations abroad, while we're digital nomads, we are seeing some what we call leapfrogging, right, in various different countries. So if for us, we had a bank, we had a credit card system, and we know the whole thing in the West, right? In some regions around the world, they just skipped right over all of that and they just went right to mobile. So now they have mobile, you scan a QR code, instant payment, right? And so we are really seeing that happen in real time in various different parts. Now, it's not as prolific as one would really want it to be, but I do see that changing in the not so distant future. The other thing too, I would say that I love, and it's kind of an unconventional answer, is being in the Web3 space and being plugged in. Like we said, we're like qualitative researchers really trying to understand not just the local culture here, but also understand the community and the builders who are building in these various different places. A lot of times they are expats or digital nomads, but I love that Web3 brings a community together no matter where you are. Like if we're in Vietnam, if we're in Singapore, if we're in Thailand, if we're anywhere in Japan, there's always a group of people who want to meet up. And I love that. It's a really great excuse to be able to not only connect with other people who already understand, but also really brainstorm. And there's nothing like the in real life experience.
Yeah, they not only want to meet up, they want to help you achieve your business goals. That's really special. Web3 community is very unique in that sense. And we try to help as many others as we possibly can. But we also are very grateful for opportunities where others are helping us as well.
That's really, really great. I fully agree. It's kind of a really nice support system. I think we could kind of talk for hours, but let's do some fun. Let's do a little quick fire. So I will ask you a couple of questions. You have one word each to answer. So let's go. As nomads, what is one country you have not visited yet?
I don't mind.
Korea.
Malaysia. That's where I want to go.
One underrated skill for future Web3 builders.
Ooh. One underrated skill for Web3 builders.
Communication. To be honest.
Yeah, consistency.
The most overhyped concept in internet capital markets right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I
know, man. Real estate. That's two words, but real estate. Yeah.
I think stable coins, man, we talk about it way too much. Like, just keep it simple. Bitcoin's my stable coin.
Okay. A recent development in the Solana ecosystem that excites you most?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say what we discussed it earlier. It's one word. IPOs. That's 3 letters.
Helium.
Okay.
That's a good one.
The most misunderstood concept in tokenized economies.
Ooh.
What was it say it
Misunderstood concepts in tokenized economies.
I would say in one word, I would go, I think, I almost want to explain, but I'll just go volatility.
I was going to say risk.
All right. Now you traveled a lot. The city that best represents the future of money.
Ooh.
I got one, but I'll go. I might steal hers, but I'm saying it first, so it's Singapore for me.
That was mine. It was mine. Singapore.
Sometimes you have to agree. One word about the future of digital nomadism.
Ooh.
Frictionless. Okay.
Opportunity driven.
Oh, that's good.
Hyphenated, yeah.
All right. If funding and regulation were no constraint, what would you build tomorrow?
Great question.
That's a great question. I would build one word. I don't know if I can do one word with this. I can do 3. AI agent trader.
Not one word. Let's see.
One word. You can do it.
Education.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. And now one last question, one sentence. How will internet capital markets look by 2030?
So long.
Borderless.
Oh, it could be a sentence.
Oh, one sentence. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I didn't want to notice.
Okay. I will go everyone, everywhere, all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, super. That was fun. So
that was fun.
Guys, that was so fun.
You had me thinking hard, dude.
I could talk to you guys for hours.
It's super difficult, yeah. And you always want to explain everything, right? But yeah. Let our audience have some imagination here. So before we wrap it up, where do people find you and can learn more about you? And who should we talk to next? Because the last one was a good one. Quicks, actually, who was Quinn, you introduced us to Quicks from Toastlayer, and he suggested, hey, we need to talk to you. And we always wanted to do the show anyway. So who should we talk next to?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I got a couple.
Yeah, I do too.
Do we just throw them out there?
Yeah, well, here. First off, here's how you can connect with us. We're on LinkedIn, Quinn Button, Jonathon Button. We're on X, Q Button PhD, NFT Button over here. We are also all over every social with Life Out of the Box. Just search Life Out of the Box, and you'll find our personals as well. We're all over. We're all over Instagram. Subscribe to YouTube. We post at least 2 videos a week, every week, just documenting all of our travels. So we're all over the internet. Just Google, you'll find us, and we would love to hear from you. Seriously, whatever questions you want to just connect and just say hi, please reach out. I would say, I think one other person who you should definitely talk to, and I'm curious about your answer too. Go ahead. I think it's the Island DAO guys. Okay. I think Dean and Taki, those guys, they're doing some really interesting stuff over in Greece. They just concluded Island DAO version, I think 3. Yeah. In Mykonos, and they're really, we were lucky enough to go and visit them earlier this year in January for Athens DAO, where they're really trying to proselytize and help educate people in understanding what the future of democracy and decentralized government actually might look like. And I know that they were interviewed on the BBC for something about that. So I think that might be really interesting. Coming off the back of that event would be really great. They're honestly some of our favorite people, and just overall, they really brought us into the Solana ecosystem a lot last year. We met them at Koh Samui and Island DAO version 2. So I think getting one of those guys on would be really fun.
Yeah, I think, yeah, for sure. DAOs are very interesting to have discussions on with Futurarchy, and that's what they do. And so definitely there's 3 guys that we could recommend from that group. Also, you could talk to my co-founder with IRLs. He's a really interesting character. Comes from like an art background, but has done a lot of really interesting work in Web3. And so I think he's got a good perspective on the direction that we're going when it comes to Web3 and the culture.
Yeah, shout out Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. That wraps up this week's episode of Internet Capital Markets. A huge thank you to you, Quinn and Jonathon, for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to subscribe, rate, and share the show. It helps us to bring more conversations with the people shaping the future of on-chain finance. This is Internet Capital Markets. Join us next week as we continue exploring how technology, capital, and human creativity converge to build the financial systems of tomorrow. Until then, stay curious, stay connected, and keep building the future of finance. Bye-bye.
Great job, guys. You're in the